Welcome to another episode of Women Leaders, Tales, Trails, and Truths, where we uncover the inspiring stories, journeys, and insights of successful women leaders. Join us each time as we explore the paths that they've taken, the challenges they've overcome, and the truths that they've discovered along the way. So whether you're looking for a little bit of inspiration, guidance, or a deeper understanding of what it takes to lead, you're in the right place. So let's dive into this episode. Today, we are absolutely thrilled. We're joined by the chair of IBM UK and Ireland, Dr. Nicola Hodson, a leader who has helped steer some of the world's most influential technology companies through transformative change. From Microsoft's global leadership team to her current role at IBM, Nicola has consistently championed business transformation, sustainability, and diversity while delivering exceptional results. Nicola, a very warm welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And we have so many questions to ask you. So why don't we just get right into it? So you recently transitioned from CEO to chair at IBM. Congratulations. And I imagine it's a transition that brings new opportunities and different ways of leading. So what motivated you, first of all, to make the shift? And what's energizing you the most about this next chapter?
It's a very exciting opportunity to work in a broader sense on a broader set of business and technical issues with exceptional leaders across all different parts of the economy, so different sectors, with government, with civil servants as well. So really good opportunity, creating lots of new possibility, both for the here and now and for the medium and longer term.
Wow, that's brilliant. I mean, has there been a moment already that's given you a fresh perspective on what you might achieve? You know, talking to all these people and finding out, what could be?
Yeah, lots and lots of them. And I think it's about making sure that you can focus down and make some of these things come to life, because there are so many opportunities for a company like ours to work in financial services, in the energy sector, health, retail. So it's important just to hone down and make sure some of those opportunities can be brought to life.
That sounds awesome. I mean, the 100 days concept, it's such a standard part of leadership transitions. I remember studying it in one of my executive courses. So from your experience moving from significant roles, including your recent shift now to chair at IBM, what do you think we might be missing in how we're kind of thinking about leadership transitions? What different perspective might you offer for that 100-day thing?
Well, firstly, I do use that when I go into a new role. And it's good to be systematic about all of the different dimensions of a role. The pieces I think are most important to pay attention to is, firstly, to listen.
Okay.
Because you go into a new environment with a new team, you don't know everything, so that's important. I think it's really, really important to spend time on what is the culture you want to build. Most transformations are about a change in mindset from the get-go, and if you miss that, it's very, very difficult to drive change. So thinking about the culture you want to build, thinking about the mindset, and then being open, moving fast, being clear what you want and what the expectations are, and then building a team around you who enables you to scale quickly.
That sounds so logical to me, starting off with the listening piece, especially when it's a new role. And I mean, you've been invited to some really cool conversations and events, and I'm sure you've got your ears, up. As a matter of fact, there was you recently were at a number 10 reception celebrating the UK's AI ecosystem. You described it as having a terrific buzz. And I love the picture of you standing in front of the number 10 famous door, wearing your favorite color. But could you share a moment when, you're listening and trying to, kind of absorb all those conversations that are going around you, a moment from those discussions that really maybe crystallized where you think the biggest opportunities are, or maybe the biggest challenges for British tech leadership?
Those conversations and events are great because you see in the room and you get to talk to investors, startups, scale-ups, other people from large companies. So all of that energy in one place. And there were a lot of female award winners there as well. So it's great to speak to some new entrepreneurs who are at the start of their journey. What's clear is there's a massive opportunity for UK PLC to really help those companies to grow, to build wealth, to create jobs and to create services and things that we can all get the benefit of. And some of them are in really niche areas where people need more support. I think in terms of challenges, it's about how do you nurture those companies from the very small to a scale up and make sure that there is sufficient funding available, sufficient capital, and that they can stay in the UK and it's an attractive place for them to continue to build and grow their business.
Oh, that's great. And just hearing all those different perspectives and what, how they see it from their angle, because you do need to bring all these people together,
That's
don't you,
right.
to make it work. So I read in an article you said the more senior you get, the bigger the problems you get. So given your insight that seniority can bring, larger and more complex problems, how do you prepare yourself mentally and strategically to tackle these challenges? And what advice would you offer to aspiring leaders who may be intimidated or daunted by taking on more responsibility?
Look, I think you've got to start with yourself.
Okay.
And so preparing yourself means getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, all the boring things your mum used to say to you, eating healthily, looking after yourself and thinking of yourself, being in a good mind frame so that you can do your best work. Then I think it's about making sure that you've read up on the subject, you understood the subject in as much detail as you can. Doesn't mean you have the answers yet, but you talk to lots of people, you read quite widely. I read very widely. I look at whether there's a concept over here that I can apply over there. And then I pull together normally a team of people. I have a good hard think about who could help with this, pull together a team and get them kind of mobilised around the problem so that you can work it together. So that's the way I normally think about it. But the personal prep starts, is a continuation. It starts with us. You've got to be in the right shape. You've got to be in the right mindset to approach these problems in a really positive way.
You mentioned sleep before. I sometimes lose sleep if I have an important meeting the next day, honestly. Are there ever any things that might keep you up at night?
I don't struggle to get to sleep, and occasionally things keep me up. I wake up in the night, but it's important things to do with family and health.
Yeah.
Not typically business problems. Sometimes there's a problem noodling away, and I might say, you know what, I haven't figured out how to solve that yet. I'll put it back into my unconscious mind, and when my unconscious mind is ready, I'll figure out which way to go with it. So, but normally it's health, family things that trouble you in the night, or me at least.
Yeah, I mean that must mean that you trust yourself if you're able to say, just put it back there, and when the time has come and I have to make a decision, deal with it. I'll be ready. We've all
been in those situations, though, haven't we? We've all been through exam systems. We've all been through deadlines and pressure, and it's
Definitely.
always the way that even if you haven't fixed it at the start of the process, by the time you get to the end, you've done all of the preparation and you're ready to go.
So you've said in an article that you said, I quote, "I am vulnerable enough to say I can't solve everything on my own." I mean, and I just love that. It's so honest, Nicola, because let's face it, not one person could do everything on their own, but not that many people would admit it. So as you transition to your new role, how important do you think it is to continue showing a little bit of vulnerability given the expectations that come with such a high-profile position?
Look, in some ways, you're trying to solve some very large problems, maybe societal problems, maybe health, those sorts of things. You cannot ever solve those on your own. So recognising that's important. I think it's also important not to conflate vulnerability with weakness. They're very different things. And in being open to vulnerable and being open to ideas, you often get the best out of other people. you pool all of your ideas, and you can arrive at a very different place than you might do, as an individual. So ultimately, you wind up, in my view, with better decisions. Ultimately, you wind up with people more bought into any decision or conclusion because they've been part of how to get there. And I think that's a more productive and better and faster way to drive the outcomes.
So what advice do you have for leaders who want to encourage openness and vulnerability within their teams, but minimizing the potential challenges about maybe being too open?
Look, any team is layers of team, isn't it? You've got your immediate team, you've got maybe an extended team, you've got typically a wider organisation and external as well. So I think you can think about it in sort of circles that are concentric but nearer or closer to you. The key role, or one of the key roles of a leader, is to generate energy and to drive positivity. So it's really, really important to remember that and to make sure that that stays as a constant throughout your leadership. People do read all aspects of a leader's body language, and they make interpretations, and they may be the correct interpretation of what you're feeling and how you are, or they may be something completely different. So it's important just to be open, to be transparent, to share some of the way you think and why you came to the conclusions you did, and then it takes some of the guesswork out of that.
Right, and I'm wondering, because you described before the kind of layers of teams, that's so true, isn't it? I'm wondering if you're able to not have your guard up as much if in your inner circle, the people that you trust, that know the context, that know you, that would be quite different as, things that you can share with them compared to the further out you go in the other layers, I imagine.
I think it's about what do you share with whom.
Yes.
And so you and I have talked a little bit before about the pit crew. I have this concept of the pit crew, like a Formula One pit crew. And the pit crew is full of people who support me. And by return, by the way, I'm in their pit crew. And it's important, if you need help and support, that you go to the people who are best able to give that. With my immediate team, I have a business problem, I'll share it with my team, we'll figure out how to solve it together. We might split into a smaller group, we might bring in some other people, and we'll figure the way to go. If there's something else I'm struggling with, I might take it to my yoga teacher, I might take it to a sports coach, I might take it to a nutritionist, whatever else that might be. So I think it's about really thinking through what's your relationship with those in your crew, and how do you help each other to best effect, and how do you get the right coaching, support, whatever else, when you need it. And I have no fear of asking for help and support.
Love that.
I have a bunch of mentors from many different walks of life and coaches, and I rely a lot on them for things that I wouldn't necessarily look to my team to provide.
I just wanted to ask you this question around leadership philosophy. So you've mentioned in one of the articles that your father has been an important role model for you throughout your life. And I wanted to ask you, in what ways his guidance and his influence shaped your leadership style, and how you continue to draw inspiration from him even now?
Well, he is a big fan of education.
Okay.
And getting as much and the best education you can. So he's been very, very supportive of that. It's something that's deep in my philosophy as well. I learned from him to be very calm, especially when things are going wrong. And that's, again, very important for a leader, to be able to maintain that sense of calm and resilience through things that might be difficult. And I also learned from him to stay focused on the outcome that you're trying to drive, and not to get involved in drama. And that's something I believe very deeply, that you just stay focused on what's the job, what do I need to do next, where do I need to get to? And that is clean, it's clear, and it helps other people to coalesce as well.
So, your journey from studying chemistry, material science, to engineering, to tech leadership, it's so intriguing. I mean, in a couple of years after your PhD in engineering, you did an MBA. So, what prompted that decision? And did you ever consider a career in academia?
I was very, very focused that I wanted to have a commercial career.
Okay.
And so I took that very deeply. I was very fortunate that my first employer supported me to do an MBA pretty early in my career. I think I was the youngest one ever sponsored by them. And it was fantastic for me. It was a very wide range of business topics. I got to do it on a modular basis, so I got to understand business problems and to support and help the company as well. So that there was that clarity, and that became then an obvious set of steps for me.
But in today's hybrid workplace, fostering belonging is more complex than ever. And as someone who's led large-scale workplace transformations, are there any specific practices that you found that are really effective in ensuring that both the office-based and the remote team members feel equally heard, connected, valued?
Yeah, it's challenging, isn't it? I've run global teams and teams dispersed across the UK and things. It's very important from the get-go to build a deep rapport with a team and to build a basis of trust, so that when you are dispersed, you've got that as an underpin to the way the team works. I've sometimes used a team charter. Here's how we behave, here's what we do when we're together, here's how we do that when we're remote. So that can be effective. I like to understand the motivations of my team. Why are they here? Why do they keep coming every day? What motivates them? What is going on in their lives that mean that they're bringing other stuff to work as we all do, and then to create not just a climate where they can thrive, but also a relationship and a rapport that helps them get to where they want to get to in light of what's in the rest of their lives. And then it's about being efficient. It's important if you're doing creative work or applying lots of judgment, sometimes that's better done together. If you're just bashing through a shared document, you can do that online. If you've got a meeting with a clear agenda and a set of things that people need to have read before, you can do that remotely as well. So being thoughtful about when's it best to be together, when's it best to be separated or it doesn't make a difference, and then how do you drive an effective outcome? And for young people at the start of their career, early in career, it's so important to learn from other people. And so being together, being in the same space, they get to observe your phone calls, how you handle an interaction, all of that stuff. It sort of tends to be absorbed by osmosis or by them saying to you, why did you handle that way? Then I think you can help people up the learning journey and also completely focus on your organisation's culture.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
It's so important, I think, to make sure that people get what they need. And that's how many of us learn to be who we are and do what we do, by observing others and working together with them. So, yes, I feel very strongly that that's something that we should all pay attention to. It's part of giving back. It's part of building the next generation.
Yeah, agree. So I loved a LinkedIn post where you wrote about kindness, Nicola. I think it was last year. It was based on a Harvard Business Review article. And I was just wondering if you could share a time when you've had to perhaps deliver some challenging feedback to someone. I mean, how did you approach it to ensure that you were being honest, but also, that you were being kind?
Look, I think it's really, really important to be very candid with people. Mm-hmm. You can deliver any kind of candid message in a kind way, but we all want to know, where do we stand, how are we doing, how can we be improving ourselves and our performance. So I think setting clear expectations, giving good quality feedback, ideally in the moment, so that people can absorb and learn at the time, and then making sure that you deliver that in a clear way. It's kind to be candid.
I like that. It's kind to be
so
candid.
kind to be candid.
You're being kind.
Yeah, because if someone's in a role that they're not necessarily doing well in, it's kind to them to have that conversation. What's going on for you here? How can we make it better? And I think that's a kind conversation. And I think not to shy away from that, because it's often in their interests, it's in your interests, and it's in the interest of the business that you're running as well.
Yeah, and I think it shows that you care. You care enough to be having that conversation in the first place, because I think, well, they could be difficult conversations, and some leaders maybe shy away from them, but the fact that you are engaging and, you're showing that you care, and you can do that in a kind way.
Life's not as consistent as we'd all like. Sometimes people have got something, they might have had a parent who's unwell, or something else, one of their children's unwell, or, their house just got flooded. It's really important to understand that, because it's probably impacting the way they're performing and showing up at work. But ultimately, people perform much better when there's psychological safety, when they're understood, and when they feel like they've got, there's an element of care from their line managers. So important to get that right. Obviously, not without the context of being able to have people performing well in a business context against the role they're measured against, but getting those in good balance, super important.
And I think people just would love to know that their manager has their back.
Yeah.
So, that's a win-win all-round situation. You've also spoken about how kindness is key when morale is low. So can you share an example of when you've seen thoughtful leadership maybe even transform team dynamics?
We've all had the joy of someone being kind to us. Maybe it's on a day where things aren't going well. I don't know, your car breaks down, your train's late, whatever. Some random act of kindness makes you feel enormously better. And it's also a joy to give those random acts of kindness. And kindness is not hierarchical. It can be anybody, right? And so it's really important for me as a frame to have that in mind. Sometimes when things are not going well, people give themselves a rhetoric about it's not going well, the business isn't doing well, I'm not doing well. They lose confidence. And so it's important to be able to tune into that, to sense it, and then to be able to build them up. If you do that well, you get much, much better performance. And so having that sense of understanding, belonging, and then moving forward into all of the energy and positivity that we talked about earlier, really, really important. I would see all of that in a kind of bucket of things that relate to kindness.
Yeah, I think it also costs nothing.
It costs nothing.
Zero.
And
yet,
it has a massive impact
Yeah.
beyond that which you can calculate. Small things.
What keeps you grounded and mindful of these little kind of small but meaningful interactions? Because that really said a lot to me about you when I first met you. We had that lunch.
My kids keep me grounded.
Do they?
Yeah, of course. It's brutal. I have a house full of boys. The banter is, it's quite edgy. So that all keeps me grounded. But, like you say, kindness is free. It supports other people, and other people keep you grounded. And I think that's true in all walks of life, whatever scenario. And we all have lives at the weekend that don't involve big business and big jobs. And so just staying tuned in with family and friends, going for a walk, staying close to nature, all of that contributes.
Yeah, I love that. But in general, your path has been fascinating, from nuclear engineering to global tech leadership. So rather than the typical barriers we often hear about, is there like an unexpected advantage you found being one of the maybe few women in those spaces?
It's very interesting. I don't think about it that way.
Okay.
I think about where's an environment where I can thrive number one, and number two, where I can make a difference. Those things have to be true for me. And so if I can find that, is this an environment where I can thrive? And
can I make an impact?
Can I make an impact here or not?
Makes sense. Going on to some personal things about what you love to do in your spare time and etc. I'm aware that you're an avid follower of Formula One, and you recently said that the power and precision of a Formula One car is a thing of beauty. And I also know you ride a Ducati Cafe Racer, a bike also known for power and precision. So could you share the story of what drew you to motorcycling?
That's also a thing of beauty by all. The Ducati is it's absolutely beautiful, almost art.
I've only seen it on YouTube.
Yeah, there's lots of there is a Twitter handle called Engineering is Art, which just picks out beautiful engineering things. But what drew me to that is adrenaline. I like speed. I like adrenaline. I like a new challenge. And again, I think about it less as a sort of power versus risk balance and more about an excitement and focus balance. So you have to be 100% focused. That goes without saying because safety comes first.
Absolutely.
And so it's good to find things where you can switch off completely. You can be just focused on that task. You can be focused on enjoying that, and you can get something really exciting out of it. So I love it. It's, the other thing is it allows you to connect to your feelings and your emotion. And that's really important, isn't it? To,
Definitely.
To be able to do that. So applying the focus and applying the connection to feelings and emotion is 100% relevant to what I do every day.
Yeah, and just living in that moment.
Exactly.
I'm getting so much enjoyment out of it. Really, I'm sure is something that you look forward to doing after a very long day or a long week. But you're known to be an avid reader too. And I was wondering if you could share a specific book maybe that has fundamentally changed or challenged your perception of leadership.
It's so difficult to pick a specific book. Everywhere in my life there are books. I carry them round.
Do you?
I read maybe 3 or 4 at one time. I have Kindle. I have 2 Kindles actually. So there are a couple of books I think have impacted me that I read again and again. One is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. I love the heroine in the book. I love what she does. I love the makers, and I love the fact that they can go and make a big difference in the world. So, it speaks to me of ambition, of makers, of a strong heroine. I also, interestingly, which I read less frequently, but I quite like Jonathan Livingston Seagull. It's just, again, an interesting allegory, an interesting story about being extraordinary, i.e. not being ordinary, and about reaching your highest potential and also not following the herd or the flock in that scenario. So those are a couple I kind of go back to, and I think that they when I read them, really influenced me and the way I think.
I'm curious because you mentioned Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged, a book that I've read. Do you think with the rise of AI and automation that will allow more people to live, more individually?
A good book's like good advice, isn't it? You take on board the pieces you want to take on, and not necessarily all of it. But look, in the era of AI, there is potential for us all to use that to do our jobs in a better and more efficient way, to take away some of the work that's not necessarily using our brains and our capability in the ways we want to. And so I think that will make all our lives easier. I think as all of this technology gets developed, you create more people who are able to deliver philanthropy in the world. And I think we can also use AI to speed up and make simpler some of the things that have been difficult processes, more bureaucratic in the past, and therefore we'll get a better service, a better capability.
Great message. But you're also a dedicated Liverpool fan. You understand the importance of both the individual talent and the team dynamics. So how has your love of football influenced your thinking about building and leading those high-performance teams?
There are so many lessons, aren't there, in the way sports teams come together and develop and perform. I think I pick out a couple of them. One is I really like the intentional blend of experience and new talent. I think if you get that mix right, you build succession for the longer term. You know, you get the experience supporting the newer folks, and I think Liverpool's done that incredibly well. But that's something I try to do myself. And the other one is just building an incredible sense of belonging and belief and team. And again, if you can get that right, it's such a powerful force. And therefore, you start to get what I was talking a little earlier about with the pit crew, two-way reliance on each other. You know, you support your team members, they support you. So, yeah, belief, belonging, and that sense of team as well.
Yeah. Fantastic. But you're also very committed to sustainability, and that's kind of inspired your, it spans your entire career from nuclear industry to tech leadership, this sense of sustainability. So could you share the moment that kind of first ignited your interest and passion in sustainability?
Yeah, it's interesting. I started my career in the nuclear industry, and in that industry, obviously, there are different views about what's sustainable and what's not. But it's something that industry's been thinking about for decades and has to think over decades. And so it became important to me way back then. It became very obvious to me that a business has to think about its impact on the planet, on the community that surrounds it, on the people who work for it. So, you know, it's something I feel very deeply about. I think AI has got enormous potential to help us there, to help us make better use of energy, to help us manage the costs of energy, and to help us have an energy sector that supports us. And so driving down the cost of technology, making AI help us do things better. You know, in our world, that's things like using not using internet scale language models, but using language models fit for purpose that support just the data that's required. It's significantly less cost intensive, it's significantly less energy intensive. And so there are real opportunities in the tech world to support that direction of travel.
Your perspective on UK innovation is also really unique and pretty cool because you've worked, with startups. You've supported tech skills development in the West Midlands. I've heard you speak so enthusiastically about that. What's the most surprising insight you've gained from nurturing innovation across the UK?
Well, the UK is in a brilliant position. It's third and maybe it's fourth now, but it's in the top 3 or 4 in terms of AI startups and startups more generally. It's in the top 3 after much bigger nations like China, US. And so we've got that basis of curiosity, smart people, a great research base in our universities, and lots of smart startups springing out of those. So I think we're in a really good place. We do very well for AI startups. We do very well for clean tech, fintech, health tech, all of the areas where we can make a difference to people, we can make a difference to our planet. And people are attracted by the skills, the research and the skills that we've built and we continue to build in the UK. So we've a great tradition, we have great skills, we have great energy around that space, and now we need to make sure that we're nurturing those businesses to become the next stalwarts of our FTSE 100.
Agree. I'm going to switch the focus a bit on well-being because you've been open about using yoga and Pilates and running to support your physical and your mental well-being. As a senior leader, how important do you think it is to model this kind of work-life integration, and what impact have you seen when leaders maybe openly talk about their mental health?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and those kind of discussions create lots of engagement. It's very, very important to role model. I know from leaders I've worked for who do role model that it creates an environment where those are okay conversations, they're legitimised, and you can have an open and honest dialogue. And it just gives other people permission to do the same. So I think the role of a leader there is very important. And you know, it's important to know that our mind and our body are very well connected, and so having all of ourselves perform at our best level is also super critical.
I agree completely. What advice would you offer to those struggling with feelings of self-doubt or inadequacy as they progress through their careers?
Everyone has those doubts, right?
Yes.
So it's important to know that they're there, and to thank yourself for having them, and then to say, that's not useful energy for me to spend. I'm going to switch it off, turn it down, and focus on what I need to do here. But everybody has those doubts, and I think, again, just knowing that it's normal.
So acknowledging them.
Totally, and then taking some control, and when they're not helpful, to just switch them off.
You mentioned your children, and I mean, you're a senior executive who's balancing a demanding career with family life, and you're married with 5 sons. I'm just curious, do you or did you keep technology away from them when in their formative years?
Not really.
Okay.
We did our best to teach them how to use technology wisely. Because there's some great technology for children.
Yes.
You know, if you think about Minecraft, they're learning how to create. The Lego Xbox games were fantastic. You know, Lego Star Wars, they have to work as a team. So there's some really, really good technology. I think it's important to be thoughtful about that, to teach children to use it well, to help them to understand they have a digital footprint, what to do if they get into any kind of sticky situation, which inevitably they will. So we had the Hodson House rules on the fridge for technology.
Very clever.
You know, and we talked about that openly, probably too much for the kids' liking. But I was involved a while back in internet safety for children, and you know, I'm very well aware of the situations and the dangers. And so I think it's important just to be honest, to acknowledge those, and to teach the children how to use it wisely.
Couple last questions, Nicola. What's your proudest moment?
Oh, my proud moments are with my kids and my family. And, you know, that's my sort of the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me that question. But, you know, I'm most proud in a business sense of the positive environments I've created for people, and the careers and personal lives I've helped along the way. Those are the things that, you know, make me feel warm on the inside.
And looking ahead, what is it that you would still like to achieve?
Oh, goodness me. Every 6 months or so, much to my husband's, I don't know whether he lacks enthusiasm or just lets it happen, I complete a page of life goals. And it's all on a mind map, and they're about family, work, and all of the, you know, health, sustainability. So I want to continue making a difference. That's very, very deep in me. And I want to make that difference in the world around people and around the planet.
Can I contribute? Can I impact in this way when you're deciding about your next project or what you want to do?
And tech has got an enormous ability to impact, you know, clean tech, climate tech, making our planet better, but also for people, you know, improving health spans, improving lifespans. So yeah, it's about how do you make a difference in those spaces for me.
Sounds great. And just a final question, your key message that you'd like to leave our listeners with. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that for anyone listening, women and other leaders.
I'm going to leave one quote and one motto. And my quote is from a poem by Mary Oliver, and it's called The Summer Day. And someone shared it with me in the pandemic, and I love the last couple of lines, which go as follows. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? So that's the quote I'd like to leave people with. And in terms of a motto, I would say, be extraordinary.
Nicola, I can't thank you enough for coming today. It's been an absolute delight.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.